Moocs actors in the world. My name is Pierre Dillenbourg. I'm from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne, EPFL. We started the first MOOC conference in 2013, a small one. Then we had a big one in 2014. Then it went to Leuven in Brussels, to Graz in Austria. Today is here, and I'm very thankful to Carlos to have made such a great event. That's really, I'm very impressed, and thanks a lot, Carlos. And yeah. And the next one will be in a place that will be announced at the end of this panel. So this is going to continue. Even the next one is being under discussion. OK, just 2 words to say that I'm from EPFL. 2 minutes advertising. We opened last month the EdTech Collider, the Swiss EdTech Collider, which is an incubator with 36 startups active in EdTech, in educational technologies, around Lausanne or between Geneva and Zurich, some of them broader, so 36 startups doing EdTech on our campus. That's the end. You can remove the advertisement. And now we go to the debate. OK, that's always difficult to have a discussion with this kind of people. Okay? I will ask you to help me. No, I will ask you to help me to stop them if they give a talk. Yeah. The problem with panels is that people don't answer questions but give a talk, especially Anant. So if you have the feeling that somebody speaks too long, please put your head on your table like that and non-verbal feedback. Just do this and they will understand. So I have the pleasure to have 4 of the prominent persons in the world in these things, and I will first introduce Karolina Jeux, who is the leader of the MediaDAX initiative. Then we have Simon Nelson, that you have heard this morning, the CEO of FutureLearn. We have Rick Levin, CEO of Coursera, that you heard this morning as well. And then we have Anant Agarwal, the boss of edX, that you may not have heard this morning, but you've heard probably many times. OK, so the goal is simple. I will ask them questions and ask them to answer briefly. The first question is for Karolina. The way I put people there, you may wonder why I put Anant and Kevin and Rick next to each other. It's because we like controversy? No. It's because Simon gave me 100 francs to be able to sit next to Karolina. That was the explanation. So, first question is for you, Karolina, because MediaDAX is not so well known in the non-Hispanic speaking world. So, can you tell us a few words? What do you do? Why is a company making MOOCs? Well, a phone company, a communication company? How many students and so on?
Perfect. Well, MediaDAX is focused in the Spanish and Latin American market. At this point, we have around 110 universities and institutions that are putting around 600 courses in the platform, and we are focused in the Spanish and Portuguese language. It's a project that was launched about 4 years ago, together between Telefónica, through my company, which is Telefónica Digital Education. So even though we're a telecom operator, we are a digital education company, and the Universidad from the Banco Santander. And the idea was, on one side, to give access to free content to the 500 million people, Spanish-speaking people and Portuguese-speaking people in the world, and also helping the universities of Latin America and of Spain to move on into the digital world. Short enough?
That was perfect.
Okay.
That was perfect. So, first questions, Simon, for you. You must know that we had dinner last night together, and let me tell you, all the questions changed during the day because of the discussion. This morning you said something that struck me. You said, at FutureLearn, we do no marketing. And I thought, wow, that's great. How do you manage? At the same time, at EPFL, we work with both edX and Coursera, and one thing we appreciate is that they are very patient in marketing, especially edX is very efficient in marketing for us. So I was thinking, but why don't you do I mean, you kind of want to bypass these gentlemen. Why don't you invest more money in marketing?
That's a really good question. So we're quite averse to marketing at FutureLearn, and I wouldn't. I think it's low as ourselves. No, what I meant was, we've not had the resources to put into paid marketing. So everything that we've done has been about trying to grow our reach organically. Initially, that was through PR, through riding on the MOOC wave when we launched, building up newspaper coverage initially in the UK, and then as part of the wider MOOC scene. When we launched, we brought in a social media manager, and we started to try and generate word of mouth in that way. And then as we have grown as a platform from initially a few thousand people to then hundreds of thousands to now 6 million, of course, we are very adept now at marketing to our user base. But do I have money to put behind big marketing campaigns to buy lots of AdWords in Google or Facebook? No, I don't. So we have to work as a network with our partners, and we try to explain to them, look, we have had amazing success with many of our MOOCs, but do not imagine that you just build a MOOC and automatically get thousands, tens of thousands of people. You need to think, who is the audience? Where are they? How are you going to get them? We can help you. We have built a platform that we believe is one of the best for attracting Google search and being linkable from all over the web. But you need to work with us to make sure that we find the audiences you're looking for.
Rick, on the same topic, can you disclose any numbers or in terms of percentage of your energy or money, how much you invest into buying AdWords, for instance, so this kind of marketing processes?
We actually do less paid marketing than you think. We do the same. We do have a significantly large marketing group now, maybe 20 people. 20. But they spend a lot of time on things like SEO, search engine optimization, so that our partners' courses come up high under various search terms. We've played around with Facebook and Google Ads. We've actually gotten a little more mileage out of Google search than we have, surprisingly, out of the lookalike advertising at Facebook, which is more expensive. It's not a huge percentage of our effort, but we do think it's important. And we as we enter the degree space, we are hoping that we can continue to add degrees with zero paid marketing behind it. We've recruited classes for the first 2 degrees from the University of Illinois without a dime spent on paid marketing. But we know that won't be true once we've got 20 degree programs on our platform. There'll be, we are 26 million growing at 500,000 a month, but that's not an inexhaustible resource that will eventually be exhausted.
Okay, we come back to degrees. So 20, how many people in your marketing team?
So we have, about 7, Nigel, would you say? Yeah.
In my case, as I'm not only Myriad, I have other projects. I have about 20 people, but they're not only focused on Myriad.
How many marketing people at TEDx? Just a rough idea.
So it depends how you count. One of the things we've done is in addition to...
No, Anand. It depends. The sentence, it depends, is forbidden until 6:30.
So I would say we have 1,000 marketing people. And if we want a number, I'll give you a number. And it's because we do a lot. As a nonprofit, we've released edX as Open edX. And the entire Open edX community around the world is helping us market edX. And so you want a number? I'll give you a number. But we do all of the above, social marketing, SEO, SEM, paid. And as a nonprofit, we also get free advertising dollars from many major search and other enterprises, which we benefit from. And one of the few places where nonprofit helps us. And so we do a fair amount of paid as well, using a budget. So really, our VP of Marketing, Sasha Norkin, has put together just an incredible program for marketing.
Don't be upset. This is only the beginning of the discussion. Don't be upset immediately.
Can I give you a story, actually? I'm going to use a bad word, so I'm just going to warn everyone. One of the most successful bits of marketing we ever did was we were approached by a site called I Fucking Love Science. My apologies. But that is what it is called, or IFL Science. You may have seen them across Facebook. They promote, amazing science features. And they promoted one of our courses, and we got 70,000 people enroll overnight. And then they said, okay, now you can pay us for more of this type of activity. And so we did a small experiment, and we got lots of display advertising from them. We got like 5 enrollments or something. And the difference between their sort of open site, where they gave a proper endorsement of a fantastic bit of content, versus the display was like that. Yep. And the key for us is to try to find those sort of relationships that really meet our brand and where we're both trying to align our objectives.
Anant, I come back to you because you mentioned OpenEdX, and we started a bit of discussion on that last night. In some way, you have some competitors here, but you created your own competitor by having OpenEdX. Some people could say that you shoot at a new feet or in your legs, I don't know how you say in English. And yesterday you were defending, you said it's not the case. But at the same time, we have now we have OpenEdX France, OpenEdX Switzerland, OpenEdX, so the beauty of the kind of global education stuff is kind of being fragmented by some kind of nationalist platform. How do you feel about that? So there are 2 questions. One is creating your own competitor, and second, having too much scattered system now.
No, that's a excellent way to think about it. And we see this all the time. By giving away, so in 2013, we gave away our platform as open source software. And as a nonprofit, when we launched edX, we had committed to doing that, and we kept the commitment. We released it as open source. And you're right. We've spawned a set of competitors all over the world. There have been examples where we go into an account, and our competitor is an open edX partner that is competing with edX. Yeah. And frankly, after the meeting, the open edX partner might give me a call saying, hey, Anant, when are you guys going to implement that feature? I don't know exactly which customer they're talking about. But we are committed to open edX. And I think it's very important. As a nonprofit, nonprofits do stupid things like this, which is give away our crown jewels because it's the right thing to do. And so we will keep doing it. In terms of, is it a problem that there's a lot of national platforms? No, I don't think so. If you look at FUN, or campus.il from Israel, or Shwetang in China, or openedu.ru in Russia, there's more than a dozen national platforms, and they're all hosted in their own country. And frankly, you'll be launching one in Switzerland. And so I don't think that if you assume that for education, which is so fundamental, that nations are going to put their key data for learning and credit and degrees on a US platform, I think we have a big thing coming. And if you really want to make a big change in education and truly help reimagine education, you really have to give it away. And I think, I forget who said this, but there's a saying that says, if you love something, give it away. And so I think we think it's so important that giving it away is so important. And it's okay if there's competition. It's okay if the whole world picks it up and becomes a global competition. We love it.
Good. Rick, a question for you. This morning in your keynote, you showed how much the MOOC phenomenon was actually even more disruptive in terms of the job market that is on academia. But here is one issue. From our experience, the MOOC that generate revenue are the MOOC on vocational skills that are not exactly the kind of MOOCs we want to do in top universities. They are a bit kind of slightly more professional. It's not like machine learning 2.3. Machine learning 3 is more, introduction to data science and to programming and so on and so on. So there are more courses developed by University of Applied Science or Fachhochschule or community college or whatever you call them. So we feel sometimes, do you feel that this is a problem for you partners that you this kind of advanced MOOCs on plasma physics and astrophysics that we do are great. People will not pay for certificates.
Right, that's right. This is kind of the dichotomy that we see in the market, which is, very high-level academic, esoteric subjects please a small number of learners, and they're great, and it's great to have them, and we're happy to have our partners offer those types of courses. But where the courses that are having the strongest impact on learners and for which they're willing to pay for certificates are ones that help lead them to career outcomes. Now, it's an interesting mix, though, what kinds of courses do that. Because, for example, from your university, by far the best monetizing course is Introduction to Scala by the founder of Scala. This is not just an applied course. It's a pretty rigorous.
It's an exception because it's kind of advanced and practical at the same time.
But the #1 moneymaker on our platform is Andrew Ng's machine learning course, which is a very, very rigorous course, quite challenging, and many of our learners find it too challenging, actually, and wind up taking a lower level, easier version of introductions to data science. So I think that it is a mix, but practical skills do have high value. Partly, I think in the long run, MOOCs are going to serve this purpose of helping to educate the workforce at an even lower level of skills than universities naturally provide. So, I mean, very, very practical skills that are normally taught in polytechnics or community colleges are in fact in great demand and will help many millions of people find work and transition as job requirements change. Those aren't the types of courses that our university partners are too likely to want to provide. And so, there's going to be another evolution, either a niche in the market for another startup, or else firms like ours are going to have to begin to loosen up and provide some of these middle skills content, which I think is extremely attractive and socially very, very important.
So in the program at the conference, I invited people to send me question by email for you. I only got 2, and one of them is about free. What is free in MOOCs? What are we going to still get for free? At the beginning, we had everything for free, then not anymore the certificate. Now, sometimes it's not, the automatic grader is not free anymore, or sometimes nothing is free at all. And last night at dinner, I asked each of you whether you are making money, whether you are break-even, and all of you said, no, that's not a problem. But
we said not yet.
Not yet. And my question is, how much pressure did you receive from, you don't have investors, but yeah, you have investors, you CEO, and you see, how many pressure do you have to, honestly, university, we start to feel this pressure through the deals we have with you. Maybe we start with you, Simon?
Yeah, sure. So I am spending a lot of the Open University's money. British Open University, very important university in the UK, so I feel a pressure from spending their money, and they have invested in FutureLearn as a commercial operation that they expect to repay that investment and deliver them a return in the future, as well as a wider range of strategic benefits. So I definitely feel the pressure. However, they have been a fantastic shareholder through our 4 years as a company and 3 years since we launched our platform, because they understand this wider strategic benefit that they can gain from launching a new platform and a new partnership into the emerging markets. And also, of course, opening up education is key to their founding principles as well. So while on the one hand I've had a very, very enlightened shareholder, they are a shareholder, and I definitely have to drive towards delivering the returns that they expect.
But is there a red line? Is there a line that you will not? Is it the fact that we have non-free, automatically graded exercise? Is it, where is the red line for you or for the others?
So one of the things I've always said to my team is, so I don't think it's a red line in features. We will introduce fully paid courses in the summer, for example, because we think some partners want to provide certain courses to certain learners in those ways. That's fine. We have a fantastic platform for doing that. The red line is I don't want to pretend to learners or trick them into thinking they're getting something for free, but they have to pay, or into paying for something that they can actually get for free. What I want to be, my red line is we have to be transparent with learners, and we should be delivering additional value for the payment, things that they could not or would not expect to get for free. We will try to walk that line as FutureLearn.
What about you, Karolina? A lot of pressure?
Well, in our case, as we are a company that has many projects, I'm lucky because actually, for example, the cost of the technology, I'm able to share it among all the different platforms I'm actually providing, and all the rest of the platforms are actually paid for. So in this case, I'm able to, and I have lots of pressure in the overall results of the company, but not specifically on the Myriada X project.
But the manager does not tell the, hey, this is bad. Remove that
they
one.
want the
No
OIBDA
pressure.
of the company at the end of the day, and the rest is
Will
not that. Sorry.
you ever put advertisement in
No.
a Emooc?
No. We also work the similar model that you actually work, and we have quite a big amount of organic people that are actually getting in. One thing that he was saying about actually the content experience that we had from one of the universities that shared it with me not a long time ago, he was saying that actually in his case, the university decided that the courses that they wanted to put on the Moocs were the same as the one that they had in their undergraduate programs for various reasons. First, because they wanted to start using the flipped classroom model, so really having their own students use it. And what he said was that even though the revenues of the Mooc were incoming through certificate, they were starting to receive a whole lot of Latin American students actually coming to the brick-and-mortar university here because they were saying, God, if this university does this quality of courses online, it's a great university to be in. So the experience we're sharing with the universities is that they see this more as a marketing tool, many times, of showing what we're able to do, and they want to do content that actually has to do with their specific business. So it's not only going to the top, very sophisticated stuff.
Rick, you come from academia. What is the red line for you? You receive a lot of pressure, I guess.
Well, we don't, you know, it's very interesting, our situation, because we have 4 very engaged venture capital firms that are, you know, on our board or board observers and have really watched very closely what we do. A number of other more passive investors, including 4 of our university partners. But the main venture capitalists, every one of the 4 actually sees Coursera as a very special item in their portfolio. They act, just as all our employees recognize, yes, we're a for-profit firm, yes, we want to be successful, they also realize we're having an enormous social impact and that this is a unique mission-driven for-profit company. And, I mean, not the only one, but it is a mission-driven for-profit company. The interesting, our venture capitalists see it kind of the same way. They're willing to be patient and to wait. They get it, that this is important. I mean, one of our lead board members said to me, you know, I regard this as the most important investment that I will ever make.
Okay.
So that's not too tight a noose, you know, it's a pretty loose rope. They do expect returns, and they do expect us to go public at some point. But I'll give you an example, without being too specific about numbers. Before we started the enterprise business and the degrees business last year, we were actually on a trajectory to get profitable with just the MOOC and certificates business. And you know, I told the board, we could be profitable in N quarters, where N is a very small number, or we could double down, hire a sales team for the enterprise business, build whole capability in degrees, but it's going to mean we're going to have to double the burn rate. And it's going to stay there for quite a period of time. And by the way, the burn rate, for those of you who are academics, something I learned, is the amount per month by which your expenses exceed your revenue. So in cash terms. And they went right along with it. They thought, no, invest for the future. Do the thing that will make the company have greater impact. So it's an interesting case study, because I'm sure there aren't a whole lot of venture-backed firms that get the same treatment, but we do.
Anant, as a non-profit, do you escape a little bit from this pressure, or do you have the same kind of expectation that at some point you generate something to put back in the loop, some money?
So, you know, edX is a non-profit, I think the only non-profit MOOC provider. But at the same time, we put incredible pressure on ourselves that we want to be sustainable. As a for-profit, you talk about ROI for the investor, but as a non-profit, you talk about sustainability, which is that we want to get to a point sometime in the future where what goes out comes in.
Yeah.
We don't have to get a hockey stick. I've done a number of startup companies, and the way you get high valuations, you show a hockey stick of earnings. But in our case, our goal is you want to be Gesundheit Gesauter, you need to get to sustainability. And then, as a nonprofit, all the dollars can be invested back into the mission and bigger revenue share to our partners and so on. So but that said, we want to get to sustainability. And until we get there, we don't have VCs, but where do we get our investment from? So we get MIT and Harvard have been very generous to us, and they're continuing to invest in us. Many of our university partners are standing by us, and they are contributing to edX. And so that's where our capital comes from. But if you look at what we will offer for free versus paid, even our flagship products, I believe at this point, it would not be inaccurate to say that edX might be the only MOOC provider where all of our flagship products are completely available for free. So whether it's a MicroMasters, whether it's the professional certificate program, or the degree program with Georgia Tech. So we launched a full master's degree program. It's a stacked program, MicroMasters with a full master's.
It's free?
Every course in that is also, yes, even you didn't know that.
How
many people here know that even with the full master's degree program, every course can be taken completely for free, including exams, graded options, ungraded, auto-grade, everything available, exercise available for free. A lot of people automatically think, oh, it's got to be paid, but it's free.
Let me check. Who knew it? Some marketing is required here.
But there you go. So, but that said, all the content is available for free. But then how do you make money? And so it's a freemium model. So we charge for the credential. If you want the MicroMasters credential and a pathway to credit, you have to pay. If you want credit, you have to pay. And so in that sense, we are monetizing the credit path or the certificate path. And in the credit or certificate path, students get a set of better features, such as credit, certificate, and in many cases, they might also get personal sort of webinars with the professor, for example. So that's the way we're trying to do it. And frankly, it is much harder to generate revenues when you don't put things behind paywalls. And that will push our revenues out. But our partners, our universities, our founders, founding partners, are all very comfortable with that huge drag on our earnings potential.
So one thing I think we understand from each of you is that one way to get into more revenue is to go, we started from MOOC, then sequence of MOOC, like specialization or whatever, and now degrees, okay? And I had a question from Nicola about these degrees, and so it's clear that it's where everybody is going. And now, all degrees that you have been co-branded with the university. How long will that be before that you decide to make your own degree with your own brand without needing university in Australia or whatever to do it? Is that something that you discard, or is that something that is in the possible? Karolina, any?
At this point, we're not developing our own courses. I mean, we believe
Simon? Nope. This is recorded, huh? Be careful. This is
why,
recorded.
That's why I'm...
You have the right to abstain if you don't want to reply or to lie in front of the camera.
I think we think it would be the beginning of the end of our strong relationships with university partners. I mean, we think we've done some exceptional things in building a great technology platform, but we would be nowhere without the phenomenal, prestige and quality of the offerings of our university partners. And why would the Coursera brand want to compete with EPFL or with with Yale or Stanford? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, I was going to say in the previous question, where I suspect we all feel pressure as well on, return on investment is from our partners, because they are investing huge amounts,
of course,
in content on our platforms. And they are not just largely doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, although there may be some strategic funds they can use for this. So we need to find returns for all of our university partners, non-university partners. Sometimes they can be strategic returns, brand building, etc. But we know as well that everyone has to pay somehow for the academic time and for the content to be created. So we're all under pressure there. And yeah, I mean, if you look at what's been invested in FutureLearn, you can at least double it when you look at what our partners have invested in content to go on FutureLearn. That's what we're all reliant on.
I would also add one thing we would be very open to, and I would imagine Simon would, and Anant would too, would be, let's break some boundaries here. What about universities collaborating and offering a degree together? I think that would, we could probably build some really great experiences by combining strengths of some of our university partners.
I would jump on that, but maybe you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, of course.
Yep.
Of course. So in the case of edX, we have a very special relationship with the university partners. Heck, they're even funding us. So if we did anything, it would be certainly with the buy-in of our partners. And so far, we've been very successful having them create the content. And I go around giving speeches about unbundling, which is today the content comes from university, the credit comes from university, the credential, everything comes from university. And what we are saying is that the education world is going to be unbundled. And different people will offer different pieces to be synthesized into a degree. And universities have the credit and the degree. And as we create unbundled products, like in the Georgia Tech Data Analytics Master's degree, the credit and the degree comes from Georgia Tech. And so the key is to form partnerships. We're also working on credit exchanges. So EPFL is part of it. I think, almost 10 of edX partners have a credit exchange. So I think what will happen is that credit will come from a number of partners, and credit will begin to get freely exchanged. And until maybe in 10 years, credit and degrees will, maybe in 20 years, maybe they'll all go away and no one will care about degrees anymore. But I see exchanges being formed where someone who finishes a MicroMasters from EPFL might transfer and get credit from Michigan, for example, and so on.
Okay, but there, I have a little problem, and maybe this time I will be a bit less nice with you. So we have this initiative to build 10 European universities. This is led by Anne, somewhere here, and another one led by Delft about the same idea, exchanging MOOCs for credits. And we went to talk to both of you, not you personally, but some people from your team, about saying, hey, what if we want to make a certificate with 5 MOOCs from edX and 5 MOOCs from Coursera? And usually when I ask a question to Coursera or edX, they are very polite with me. They say, oh, Pierre, thank you for asking such a wonderful question. But when I asked this question about putting together MOOCs from edX and Coursera, the answer was no. Okay, here is a question for you. The answer was no. And then you give talks about, MOOCs for improving the world and the education worldwide.
Why was the answer no?
So let me ask you. I want to make a degree. 20 MOOCs, 5, 5, 5, 5. And
That's different.
5 of each. And I want at the end, of course I can do it. I don't need authorization. But I want to give a certificate, so I want to recover, to have a pipe of data from each of you and so on. Would you go on board of a EPFL Master in Computer Science for French-speaking Africa? I don't know, you don't have French-speaking MOOC. Would you be on board of a big project where you need to share the things with your competitors?
Okay, so firstly, you asked 2 different things there, I think, Pierre. So the first thing is, if you came to us and said you want to work with 4 other universities to collaborate to create a degree, we would love to. We would love to try and do that with you.
But that's not the
We do it.
No,
we do
no,
it. That's
but
not the problem.
I thought that's what you were saying to them, that you had done.
We started from there, and then we came with this idea of...
So the second point about collaborating with these guys, that is much more difficult. That is much more difficult. The platforms are very different. It would take us all huge amounts of development time, huge expense. We have, we're lucky. We have 100 people. I promise you, each of those 100 people has 100 things they should be doing, so it would have to be prioritized among them.
What about the LTI export of the grades?
So I think to your point, first of all, I was not aware of your asking edX this.
No,
I've the first time hearing about this. And edX, in our case, we are all about sharing. Heck, we've given away our crown jewels, a platform, so anybody can take it. And so, I think we'll be open to a conversation.
You would be open, right?
Totally open to a conversation about sharing, and find a way to help learners. We'd be open.
Rick?
Well, what does it mean to share? I mean, do you mean some of the courses would be on one technology and the other set of courses on another? Because that's one.
Which is not optimal, but
That's not optimal. It's not a great learning experience, and it would be cumbersome for administering things like grades and standing and conversations between faculty and learners and counseling outside the context of the course. If you're saying, would we make an exception and host on the Coursera platform a degree that involve partnerships from some Coursera members and some other universities who happen to be partners with edX or FutureLearn, we'd be open to that. But I think the hard part is what Simon was saying is, how do you actually integrate two platforms and offer a good experience to learners with the courses running on two different platforms?
Don't you think that learners do it anyway? They take a MOOC from you, a MOOC from you. Don't you think
But
it's
a degree
big
program's more than a MOOC. A degree program involves high-touch experiences. It involves counseling. It involves tracking the students and keeping them engaged. I mean, in our Illinois degree program, we're watching every student to see if they're keeping up with their assignments in all of the courses, and we give them emails and even phone calls to keep them on track, because we want to keep high retention. So, I mean, it's a much different, we're investing a lot more because the price point's a lot higher, and we want to make a high-quality experience. So I just think it would be very hard to make practical, but in principle, we'd have no problem with a multi-university degree, even if all the participants weren't Coursera partners.
You find a good alibi. You find a good alibi. So, right. do you know when you have students who take a Coursera MOOC, do you know how many of them have taken a MOOC from another platform? I don't know if somebody in the room has data on the fact that students do belong to a platform, like they stick to the same platform, or they migrate.
There's a lot of overlap.
We have data on that?
The last I saw, and this is quite old, so I would hesitate to say, but I think there's a significant overlap. I mean, when they say they have whatever 11 million people, we have 26 million people. They're not 37 million unique people. I would guess that 4 or 5 million at least are overlap.
Karolina, in South America, do the people take a lot of MOOCs from? We know they take MOOCs from Lausanne. Do they take MOOCs from outside the Spanish-speaking?
I think so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, normally the people that are in the MOOC world, they know the main platforms. In our case, clearly the people that are in our platforms don't have access they don't know English normally sufficiently to go to other type of platforms. So it's more focused on the language part. But normally, I agree with you 100%. Somebody that is interested in learning online knows and looks at the offering of all the different platforms available.
Simon, this question partly comes from, you mentioned this morning the MOOC on Ebola, right?
Yep.
And I was sitting next to Pablo from University of Geneva. They made a MOOC on Ebola, and then he told me there's been 5, right? 5 MOOCs on Ebola coming at the same time. That's great. I mean, diversity is good for education. Huh? At the same time, I thought sometimes we could maybe talk to each other, not only once per year at the MOOC conference, but I don't know, there might be a way to build things more efficiently.
But again, Pierre, I'm really surprised you're asking such a question. We're talking about 3 MOOCs on 3 platforms. There's one on Ebola from Harvard on edX, so that's 5. Has it ever occurred to us that EPFL has a course on Introduction to Calculus, and 10,000 other universities have the same course, and do we all talk to each other? I mean, and there's 10,000. So I think having some diversity is a good thing.
In the case of calculus, it doesn't hurt. In the case of Ebola, we might have been faster. That's an issue. Okay, let me change completely different topic. Now, some of the MOOCs from my university have died. The professor does not want to continue. He has done it 1, 2, 3 times, or he's not there anymore. Do you know how many of you MOOCs that you have invested, they last for 1 or 2 years, and now they fade out, and what are the main reasons for you? Any of you want to speak about that? Which percentage of the MOOC created are not alive anymore today? Any hint on the data?
I think we may be unique in this, in that we converted to a new platform, built a whole new platform in 2015, with the purpose of keeping all the courses alive forever, which is to say, no longer were these sessions linked to the professor's availability. They were linked to the student's interest and demand, which was perpetual. And so most of our courses they're 4 weeks long. They run every 4 weeks. They start up again. So we, unlike some of the other platforms, we have very few archived courses. in the transition from the old platform to the new, I'm forgetting the number, but I think it was only like 100 or so total that chose not to migrate at all and essentially go dead. It might be a little more, but we have over 2,000 active courses out of, I'm sure not more than 2,400 total that were created ever.
Yeah,
So,
I think we took, it's interesting, I didn't realize that. I think in our case, we took a completely different philosophy, actually. Where our philosophy was that we really wanted to work with university partners in terms of what they cared about. And for some of them, it was very important to have session-based courses, instructor-based. And for some of them, it was very important to have self-paced courses. Certainly for edX, self-paced courses, on-demand courses are very important. So we built a feature on the platform that with one button can switch a course between instructor-paced or self-paced, and many universities go back and forth. And so there, I think we felt it was important to offer the flexibility to the university. And so in our case, a university can run a course as self-paced for 2 years, and then switch to instructor-paced and go back and forth. And so in our case, because of that flexibility, I don't know how many courses, but we do have quite a few courses that are archived. But then sometimes
still post them.
they will still
come back. They might come back.
So sometimes
they can still access the video, but the course is not running anymore.
Whatever is available is running. There's no certificate attached to it. It's simply available as resources for students, but there's no certificate. Right. So it's almost like sort of a, it's kind of a course that's barely living. And sometimes universities may come back and run it at some point in the future. But really, our focus has been the flexibility for the universities in terms of what they want to do.
But somebody asking, can I remove completely my MOOC? Oh, well, you had one story, but because of, or maybe because the university does not want this MOOC anymore. Do you have cases like that?
That has happened at some occasion, but we have exactly the same model as you have. At the end, it's the university that decides what is the model that fits them the best. So if at some point the teacher's not there anymore and they don't want to maintain it, well they can take it out.
By the way, we do the same. If the university wants to pull the course, we let them pull the course with appropriate notice so that learners already enrolled can finish. By the way, a point that's related to this that I'm sure is affecting all of us is, some content gets stale, and we're incredibly young as teaching institutions. We're 5 years old at most, but we are already noticing significant amount of particularly tech content on our platform that needs refreshing. So we're going back to our partners and saying, this is really something you should consider, redoing this course to bring it up to date. So, and I think you'll see a lot more of that from all of us in the future because it's necessary.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're homing in on one of the most challenging and frustrating areas in running a platform like ours. We have hundreds and hundreds of fantastic courses. Some of the best ones run once or twice a year. And
it's session-based. It's not
so we're session-based, and because we've put such an emphasis on social learning, then we're kind of guilty. We've created our own problem because the first academics in particular that we trained up to do FutureLearn courses took great care over being present in the course themselves, being very active in all the social environments, and so it is their baby. And one of the things we now introduce people to when they're coming onto the platform is, look, in the first run of that course, make sure you have other people around you, a project team, that learns how to run the course. Because the last thing you want is the most busy person in the university, that star academic, feeling that they have to be available in order to run it. And we're also trying to introduce better ways to enable the learners themselves to manage and support through peer community support the running of courses. We're also experimenting with, if not fully flipped from session to on-demand, moving to a more near on-demand approach.
What is that?
One of our universities, Leeds University, does what Coursera are doing and opens its courses every month.
I see.
So has multiple runs of them. And the key we're trying to do is find on that spectrum the right balance between maximizing availability so people can find the course they want and start it soon, but also maximizing the cohort so you have a community of learners who can take advantage of the social learning pedagogy that we've embedded in the platform. It's a really difficult thing to pull off.
Yeah, synchronicity creates social thing. Karolina?
And that's an additional problem for the B2B area, because as we're a e-learning B2B company, we've been trying to sell to HR directors all the MOOC contents, and they're very excited about it. Actually, we have lots of demand. So, for example, a company buys 100 coupons for 100 courses, and they get a bit frustrated in the industry waiting for the course that until the end of November is not going to be launched. So that's where we have to find with the university this type of flexibility if we want to fulfill the demand that the companies are actually starting to ask in the MOOC world.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. We are, just to be clear, 'cause we are session-based. We tried out strictly on demand, start any time. But like Simon, we recognized that learners actually valued having a cohort. So what we are is session-based but frequently recurring monthly. If the cohorts are too small, then we might recur every 2 months rather than every month, just to produce critical mass in the cohorts. But we really like the idea that you don't have to wait long to start a course.
So I think that's, frankly, for this community, I think that's an interesting challenge, which is, on the one hand, we would like to give universities complete flexibility in terms of how to run programs and courses. Should courses be 1 month long or 3 months long or 6 months long? We have a year-long course. And we try not to come in the way of academic freedom. And frankly, I'm really impressed that Coursera was able to create such a model and get universities to buy into it. In our case,
we have exceptions. There are universities we're dealing with.
There was a bit of noise, wasn't there?
So in our case, I think we offered the flexibility and the freedom, but at the same time, learners or corporations want courses available all the time. And so it's a challenge. And frankly, if you have an answer, or maybe there's a research approach or some really, really cool approach to get the best of both worlds, had to be all ears. It's a real challenge.
Okay, Karolina, you mentioned B2B, which was a word that appeared this morning. So you disclosed some of the customers. So B2B for you means you have MOOCs that are sold, by the way, to some companies, or do you also consider making custom MOOCs for a company that would like to have a MOOC on a topic X? So in your case, Karolina,
in my case, it's both.
You do both?
I do both. I have personalized MOOC platforms with MOOC content for company, for example, for the core business content, in our case in Telefónica for digital products or whatever. That's one thing. And the other one, which is the one that interests the universities, is on Myriada X, the possibility for the HR directors to purchase 100 courses or 200 for their employees.
Okay. And when you do that, Simon, do you have, because when you do a B2B MOOCs, quite often the companies ask more than just a MOOC. They like to connect with their human resource platform. They like to have a single sign-on. Do you play this game of integrating your MOOC into the digital ecosystem, or just say, take it and you get a list of certificates?
So I'll be straight. We had a fantastic deal with a multinational organization about 2 years ago where we built some MOOCs specifically for them to run privately within their organization as a pilot. They loved the experience. It was some of the best results they'd ever had. We thought, this is fantastic. We're going to be able to do this more.
This is based in Geneva?
I can't say. And then the minute they started deciding they wanted to really expand, we suddenly started getting documents from their central IT service in the US, demanding single sign-on, demanding adherence to this standard, of this, and connection with this. And, as a small company, at that time we were 50, we were agonizing, oh my God, do we go down this route? And my CTO said to me, Simon, you've got to understand, we're trying to build a single platform that can scale to millions and millions and tens of millions of people. Every time you take one of those decisions, if you get it wrong, you create a branch on your site, and every time it goes forward, you want to institute a new change up here, you have to go back and institute it here. So we have been very cautious.
Same to you?
Can I finish, Pierre?
oh, yes,
Sorry.
Sir. Yeah, sorry.
This morning, I spoke in my presentation, for those who saw it, about a tool we have developed to try to bring a scalable approach to this area that we can apply across organizations. And in our B2B customers, we actually see not only employers, but universities themselves. And we see employees and also students able to come into our open courses and be able to be tracked and monitored by the university or the employer. So we're always looking as a small startup for the scalable solutions that can enable these kind of opportunities.
So, we had the same experience. We started out many years ago creating a custom course for a company or within a company. And Armando Fox, if he's here, he's a professor at Berkeley, he coined the term Spock, Small Private Online Course. And these horrible acronyms like Spock and Mooc and so on have a way of spreading. But that's what we used to do. However, for the same reasons that you mentioned, it's a pain in the to manage all these instances of specialized courses. So instead what we did is we built a set of technologies. And B2B is much more than just selling to corporates. Selling to corporates is one part. Some corporates will want to pay money to create special courses. That's another one. But also integration into corporations. So we've done the integration into corporations. So where corporations want to do single sign-on, they want to see data and that sort of stuff. So we've done that. And that's really helped with the sales into corporations. And then what we've also built is a way of creating a Spock experience within a MOOC. It's called Cohort. And so we've had that on edX now for about a year and a half. And the basic idea is that if somebody wants a special experience within a MOOC, they can get think of it like a little box inside the MOOC. It's called a cohort. It's like a Spock, but it's within the context of the bigger MOOC. So right at this minute, for example, we are running a cohort on edX for 30 students from MIT who are doing the MOOC circuits course, but as part of a credit experience, and we can even provide specialized content and specialized services within the cohort. And these services can be customized cohort upon cohort upon cohort, and we could create lots of cohorts as needed. So we use technology as a way of solving the problem. And this is also released into Open edX. So all the Open edX community gets all these features for free as well.
Rick, do you customize the platform for this B2B?
We have all of the above. Everything Anant said, we have all these
cohorts,
features. But private community, we call them not cohorts, but private communities.
But single sign-on?
Single sign-on but not, doesn't create the tangle that Simon was suggesting, because it's just an entry portal into our platform. So you sign on at the company, and you get the tracking information on your students, which we feed back to you. But so that's the integration part. But the actual experience of the learner is you click on the company's portal. It might show you what your learning options are, but once you click to actually experience it, you're on the Coursera site and in the Coursera.
So it's transparent for the learner.
Very transparent. The customized content, we have so far drawn the line on that because we don't think it's scalable. Any customizing business is labor intensive and inherently contrary to the sort of economics that we're trying to achieve. So we do have the following two solutions for the customer who wants customizable content. One is make it yourself on our platform. Use the authoring tools that universities use to actually create it for your private community. And the second,
then you sell them the platform then?
We still control the platform, but we will enable them to create content. That's not yet fully developed. It's soon to roll out.
So if I may add a little bit more, I think that's one of the places that we found the Open edX community extraordinarily helpful.
Yes,
where in many cases, if a company or if a university or a country wants some special features, at the Open edX conference, there are 350 people. There's probably 100 vendors, Open edX vendors, who we would put in touch with the university or the company that want something special done. Okay. So edX doesn't have to do it. We have a huge Open edX community that will do it. And they're such fantastic community members that they'll make it available for everybody. Just as one example, I just pick one example, Raccoon Gang, they're here. They're a Russian company, and they built an API into edX to enable any virtual proctoring solution to be plugged into edX. And so we really get a lot of help from our community that builds these features. And so they may get paid to build a feature for one company or for one country or something like that. But then in most cases, there's such a community spirit-minded group that they'll make it available as open source along with the rest of the edX platform. And so it's been very helpful for the whole community that has worked together on this.
Okay, let me change topic. This morning we saw something we see in many places. So MOOC started a bit bottom-up with a MOOC on this and MOOC on that and MOOC on that. And then we see that all of you try to have teams, like main direction, main topics, and so on. And somebody back to me, I think when you presented the teams, I heard somebody saying they're always the same. Like in most MOOC companies, you will have management and so on. You will have digital programming, blah, 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 health, well-being, and so on. It's almost these three teams most of the times, themes. And then you have, of course, innovative MOOC, like how to play guitar or to write poems. But as topic, it's always the three main ones. Is there nothing kind of brand new topic? Well, data science. But is there kind of new topic that you see more important than an individual MOOC?
I'm not telling you.
Good answer.
I don't want them to source the content yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think what we are seeing is that certainly the topics you mentioned, data science, data analytics, all the management topics, computer science, those are the big 3 or 4 popular ones. But again, in our case, we tend to be very flexible, and a lot of the content is driven by universities, particularly with the MicroMasters. With the MicroMasters, they have to have a backing master's program. So we have MicroMasters in social work. We have multiple MicroMasters, one from Michigan in education technology. We have one from Guatemala, who's also here in education. We have MOOCs, MicroMasters, a number of topics. One university is thinking of doing one in divinity studies.
So you mean
and so there's a broad set. But that said, if you really want, as a university, if you want money, if you want revenue, and everybody wants revenue, then you need to get our help in understanding where the market is. And we help our partners and ask, what are your goals? If your goal is to do good, I'll tell you what courses to create. If your goal is to make money, I'll tell you what courses to create. If your goal is to have exactly 3 people sign up for your course, I'll tell you what course to create. But you need to tell me what your goals are, and I'll help you.
So for you, MicroMaster is one way to bring a bit of top-down into this
Structure.
kind of loose collection of topics. Any?
So yeah, I mean, we're very upfront about the fact that our portfolio, that as it has developed, is what I would describe as refreshingly diverse. Because it has come from 70 different universities with different motivations, etc. And yeah, we're definitely trying to bring some top-down discipline into it. Because nearly 3/4 of our audience say when they get to the end of one of our courses, they want to do another one straight away or in a few weeks. And we haven't had a managed portfolio where we can say, right, okay, here's where you go next. Here's where you go next. So absolutely we're trying to do that. We're a commercial organization. So of course we're looking at some of the most attractive areas, but we also have particular strengths. So in healthcare, we have a fantastic range of courses. I think probably one of the best ranges on the web.
No advertisement, please.
Teaching, we also have many. But one of the key things I would say is we also, and in my speech I positioned us as, we want to be a partner for universities in their whole digital transition. So that means that we need also to be open to, and we are open to, that course in ancient history or really niche courses, because if we're not, we can't help the whole university go digital. Now, our challenge and our opportunity, and I was talking to Tim O'Shea from University of Edinburgh just after my session, is how can we, if you look at all the digital enablers, 2U, Pearson, KeyPath, they're all going after the same things, MBAs and so on. And they're all pouring millions into marketing and for those courses. How do we scale and genuinely manage to bring an economic model to a much wider range of masters. I think that's one of the problems that we're collectively going to try and solve over the next few years as well, to bring that diversity into really serious credentials that you can do fully online.
Sometimes we receive requests, could EPFL produce a MOOC on X? And the only thing I can do is find a professor of X, and if the professor of X say, no, I don't want, so in your case, Karolina, do you try to drive a little? Do you call University of Santiago de Chile, say, anybody could do a MOOC on
Like one of our first objectives was actually to help the universities move digital, as you say. What we've been really promoting is that the teachers that are interested in doing something, whatever the subject, actually go on. So we have this community online of 2,500 teachers of any type of subjects. And actually, some of the courses that have the most success are quite surprising. There's one from the Universidad of Cantabria, which in Spanish is called Potencia tu mente, which is improve your intelligence, more or less. And it has a finishing rate of 88%. So it's one of the most successful courses that we've had. And another one, for example, was done by the Can Roca, which was this restaurant, which was the best restaurant in the world for a few years, etc. So, and they were incredibly successful. So sometimes it's clear that the ones that actually are going to make money are the ones around business, about IT, etc. But it doesn't mean, in our case, that those are the most successful. And if you have somebody that is a real expert on pre-Columbine arts, I'm very happy to have the possibility of giving him access to the world to know about what he knows. But it's true that we also say, okay, here we're lacking. We would need some course on data analytics because there we're not having big offers. So we do talk to them and share what we see that the market actually is demanding. That's true. Okay.
I have a few questions left, and you can start preparing your question. What about language? We had first this dream that it's easy to subtitle a MOOC, and then we realized that our MOOCs in French and our MOOCs in English subtitle in French are not used the same way at all. In French-speaking Africa, for instance, the MOOC in English subtitled in French are very not used. Of course, it's mathematics everywhere, so it's kind of difficult to read there and there and so on. What is your vision? Will you more and more, will you continue to subtitle? Will you dub? Will you stick to English? Will you have MOOC natively recorded? I don't know, edX could have MOOC natively recorded in Spanish. What is the language diversity vision that you have in mind, Anant?
So I think people really want a diverse education, and in multiple languages, create a highly accessible platform. It's not just languages, but also we take accessibility on edX very seriously. We just had our first blind student who earned a certificate in Python, for example. In terms of languages, a number of things that you have to do. We've internationalized our platform, so it's in multiple languages. So we have courses in many languages, even one in Hindi from Australia National University. There's courses in French, Spanish, even English, Chinese, Arabic. We do right to left as well. And then I'm very proud to announce, thank you for giving me this opportunity, proud to announce that we launched our Spanish site today. So I want every one of you to go to edX.org/es, and it's a Spanish site. We have a lot of Spanish courses. I got
one beer, right? I gave you this opportunity.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I owe you a single malt. Or if your language is set to Espanol, it'll automatically bring up the Spanish site if you go to edX.org, so I encourage you to try that. But we have courses in many languages, both English courses that have Spanish or Chinese transcriptions, in many cases native language courses with an English transcription. So really, at the end of the day, what the platform provider has to do is give you a flexible platform that will let the universities and learners choose the kind of modality they want in taking these courses.
But can I be a bit more pushy? This morning we had a session where the professor from Napoli University mentioned that edX was a US platform. And Johannes was upset. He said, no, we are not American, we are worldwide, and so on. And of course, you have one employee based in Europe. You have
7 in London.
7 in, this is not Europe, sorry.
Eight.
And
That's correct. I didn't say we had 7 in Europe. I said we had 7 in London.
Simon, you said, okay, you wanted to become European. You had Trondheim in Norway and Basel in Switzerland, which is not Europe. We try to be, and then you try to be worldwide with Commonwealth University in Australia, in Canada, and so on. So my question is, are you really, especially for non-European, because this is European MOOC conference, are you serious about Europe? I mean, how many of the employees of edX know the name of the Italian region that speak German, of the Swiss region that speak Italian, of the French region that speak German? And what is the level of understanding of Europe in new teams up there over the Atlantic?
Yeah, I think the important thing is, well, first of all, we have 20 employees in Pakistan. We have employees in India, China. We're growing a Barcelona office right here in Spain. And so, but I think that's not what makes you an international platform. I think what makes an international platform is enabling people all around the world to develop your software. And I like to, as an open source platform, I like to think of it as software without borders. We have Chinese developing on it, Xuetang. We have OpenEdu.ru. Nurlan is here from Russia. People from all over the world developing that platform. And when you use open source platform, in Switzerland, you want to keep the machines local, the hosting local. France does local hosting. Different countries want to do local hosting. I think the key is giving you choice. And I think that's what makes you an international software platform, as opposed to hosting everything your way in the US, where your student data is in the US. I think, to me, that is the key, not whether you have 3 employees in Barcelona or 7 employees in Delft.
Well, I'm not sure of that, but you should not speak too long because you give more time to Rick to prepare his answer. So, Rick, what about, are you a West Coast company?
Yes, I think we are. I mean, we are a West Coast Silicon Valley company that serves the world, and we will, like many U.S. multinationals, just as there are many Swiss multinationals and German multinationals, we expect to have more employees worldwide over time. We expect to have we have more foreign partners, university content providers, than U.S. universities. We have 77% of our learners from outside the U.S., so we are serving an international audience with internationally generated content coming out of a company that's based in Silicon Valley. I mean, that's just honest talk.
Same question for you, Karolina. When EPFL, we started to make French-speaking MOOCs for Sub-Saharan Africa, we were first accused of neocolonialism. Of course, Switzerland never had colonies, so we could be colonialist, but not neocolonialist. So it was that wasn't. Now, you in Spain, when you kind of serve the whole South America, what do you have this kind of criticism? Did you open an office in Buenos Aires, in Santiago de Chile?
Yes.
How do you kind of bring, instead of just broadcast, but bring them with you?
Well, I think that more than 70% of the universities actually come from Latin America, so the content is from there. And as far as offices, Telefónica Digital Education has offices in Sao Paulo, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. So Telefónica is considered as a multi-domestic company. We're in 23 countries all over Latin America, and we feel very Latin America, to tell you the truth.
Simon, will you save the world?
Three things, so you don't cut me off, but quick things. 1, language support. So we are primarily an English language platform. It's frustrating. I would love to be able to deliver a wider range beyond subtitles. But we are obsessive about delivering a great learner experience. We don't believe we can yet do it as powerfully in French or Spanish or Italian or Chinese as we can in English. When we can, then we will try to localize properly and deliver a fantastic experience beyond subtitles. Secondly, I would love to have people on the ground. I was talking to Manel, my partner from Pompeu Fabra today. I would love to have people on the ground in Spain and Catalonia to be able to support them. Again, I have 100 people. I can't yet justify that.
So not in Spain, you mean not in Spain, in Catalonia.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as I can, then I will try to expand our offer because I know it will have impact. But it is our partners themselves who are our international network. So actually, my Spanish presence is my 2 Spanish partners. And we try to create that network across the FutureLearn partnership. And the third thing is a challenge back to you, which is if you are so obsessed about this idea of having a European perspective, why are you not delivering your Moocs on a European platform, as I have been trying to persuade you for 3 years, Pierre? Can everyone get Pierre to put some courses on
Let me move
FutureLearn,
to
please?
another question.
But although UK, whether it's European or not, is in
Yeah,
question
that's,
now.
thank you, Anant. Yeah. You gave him the get-out he was looking for.
One more beer. Nelson, when you say this great mobile experience, somebody asked you this morning, well, that's so great to read, and well, for some people it's fine, and so on and so on. But then I ask you this question that we can share here. What if I have to write 60 lines of code, of MATLAB, or play with a simulation with 20 parameters, or write an essay? So for the video, yes, but for the assignments, do you know how many of them still do things on the mobile phone, or do you kind of prevent yourself from using rich interface because you target the mobile strategy?
I think we have made sacrifices, and we have excluded ourselves from certain activity because either it would deliver a bad experience on mobile, or actually it just wasn't the quality of user experience we would want. But over time, we have also created ways to integrate software and systems developed elsewhere into a FutureLearn environment. So effectively, we call them exercise steps. So windows within a FutureLearn course that can pull in an experience and data from something that has been developed on another platform. So
you will not say that something that does not fit in a phone cannot be used in the MOOC?
Well, I did say this morning, I said, you know, we constantly have to have battles with our partners who would like to take something and they put it in there and it doesn't fit. And they go, oh, it's okay, hardly anyone will use it. We say, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. You know, we need to start to evolve, you know, all of our offerings to something that, you know, I don't know if you have the experience. When I go to a site now on my mobile where I have to pinch the screen in order to see it, I am incredibly frustrated. And I think that education is behind. My media, my banking, my retail, all these other services I use on these devices. And so, yeah, I mean, it is a choice we've taken to really prioritize this.
If I might add a little bit to that, I think we need to have some controversy on this panel. It looks like this is another case where I think we'll have some controversy. So edX, let me just first of all start by saying we have a great mobile app. It's on both iOS and Android and so on. And most of our courses can be completed fully on mobile as well. And quite a lot of social features. And we've also worked really hard even on making some advanced problem types like drag and drop and so on, not only on mobile, but also accessible. So all of that said, edX is education first. And I don't believe, and I'll say it out flat out, I don't believe that mobile first, at least today or maybe for the next few years, you can get a credit grade experience purely on mobile. Many of our courses, particularly credit grade courses, have simulations. People in industry do not design circuits on a mobile phone. People don't, EPFL has a great MATLAB course on edX. It's very hard to input massive matrices. We have many advanced problem types on edX, equation entries, matrix entry, drag and drop, image response, a lot of advanced problem types that my head hurts to think about how the heck do you do those on mobile because it is education first. And so I think there's going to be a challenge there.
Let Simon answer. What do you mean by great learning experience then?
I mean, that the quality of the design and UX on any device you are on should not get in the way of the learning. And I'm afraid, when I look at a lot of online education, I said it this morning, it looks like it was designed in 1998, and I think that will be undermining the learning experience. And these are, we have these battles all the time.
You're not talking about any MOOC produced by one of these three other
I am
companies.
talking. You're not going to get me that far, but you know, I am quite calculating in doing part of my presentation on this mobile, and you know, I encourage you. Anant's right. We need some controversy. If you don't think you can get a credit-worthy degree on this, go and have a look at Deakin's Cybersecurity Masters. Go and sign up to it now. You can do some free elements of it. Their diabetes education one. And I promise you, we are going to deliver those students an amazing experience through this. Now, there are some handshakes with Deakin's own systems, unquestionably. There are sometimes compromises that will need to be made. And you're right, actually, to pull me up. Responsive design is about understanding what device you're on, enabling people to migrate between devices, and that is what we have prioritized. And not just device agnostic, beautiful, simple user experience. And I really think that online learning has got some catching up to do, and we want to be leading the charge.
Good. So, time for questions from the room. Are there some microphones running away? No? You can just stand up and shout. Oh, yes, there are microphones coming over there. So, here is one question. Thank you for opening the fire. Here. Please state your name first.
My name is Victor Paulos from Ort University of Uruguay. I have a question, particularly to Anant. Is about 5 years ago, I attended a presentation from you, and you said at that moment that to study online is not the best way, is the only way for many people. So I'd like to know about analytics, if you have any data to share about this unprivileged, segment of population all over the world.
I still stand by that, which is online may be the only way for a lot of people to learn. I was in India recently and talking to the Prime Minister there, and they were talking about investing in many, many, many new bricks and mortar schools and so on. So my message was, we really need to think about moving from bricks and mortar to bits and bytes. And it really made an impact. I said, for the same investment that you make to build a certain number of bricks and mortar buildings and schools and universities, just think of how many more people you can reach through bits and bytes. He wrote that down. And so, I think that for a large class of the population, being able to go to a bricks and mortar building is very hard. But there's 500 million people in India that use a smartphone. And so I do believe that a far larger number of people can get access to an education if online were made as good as a bricks and mortar system.
Thank you.
Hence the importance of mobile, of course.
So again, in response to Simon, mobile is very important to us, and edX follows a responsive design, and moving, when everything is responsive, you can get access to the content through multiple device types. It's just that I do not see how I could do a complete circuit design simulation using existing tools through a mobile device, even through responsive design. I just don't know how to. If you can show me how to do it, I'm all ears.
Great. Thank you.
Could I go second?
Any question? Yes, there. Okay.
Hello, my name is Vincent. I'm the founder of Chiron. Chiron.
Okay.
One short statement. You mentioned the question if you could emerge in combining all your different MOOCs to a certain degree. I just want to make you aware you're kind of doing this already, because we're using at Chiron MOOCs from all institutions on the panel. And we actually got students into universities, got them accepted for credit. So you're doing this already. So it's not that hard.
Explain what it is. Explain what Chiron is.
I have a whole keynote maybe tomorrow. So I invite you all to come.
How do you integrate the data?
That's a challenge.
From the different MOOCs?
That's a challenge, and we have silos between all three.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the students basically getting the certificates, reporting them back, and then we bundling them all together and shipping them to the university. So yes, data sharing is a big problem, and yes, it's not nice user experience that they have to shift between different platforms, but it works. And more than half of it using mobile phones to do that. So also that works if the motivation is high enough. But I actually had a question, sorry. And my question is on how do you see the role of artificial intelligence in the future, especially for MOOC providers? Maybe seeing that you have raising numbers, all of you are reporting that, and you all have ambitious goals for the future. So how do you see a role there, and how are you tackling this right now? Thank you.
Who want to start? Rick?
I did mention just briefly this morning that we are developing a variety of AI tools. We're testing most of them at the high-level degree course level to try them out. But there's a number that will roll down to the consumer platform as well. Some of the simplest versions, the simplest applications would be getting increasingly smart recommendation engines that work from mapping the skills required in a certain job, a taxonomy that we have derived from a lot of our interaction with enterprise customers, plus our labor market data and other sorts of public data. There's a mapping from skills in jobs to skills in our courses, which is actually where we find our machine learning algorithms are getting better at figuring out what is the actual content of a course relative to what the instructor describes it as, so that we can pinpoint where particular competencies in the course are covered. So, and then finally, by doing diagnostics on learners entering the system, to try to match a learner's learning objectives or career objectives with their current competencies, and then giving them a list of courses that will actually move them from here to there. So that's kind of smart. I don't know how much of that is active AI as opposed to just kind of advanced machine learning technologies. But there are some areas where we are playing around with AI, like in bots that give you feedback. A smart tutor kind of thing.
Short answers?
All coming.
Short answers?
Sure. I think AI will play a huge role. We are advanced technology companies, in addition to being education companies, and edX has had a prototype AI, artificial intelligence-based grader. It can grade essays and open responses. It's a prototype. We've tried that out in many courses with good success. Second is one of our open edX partners, who's also a learner on edX. He's built a course search engine where the AI bot has a conversation with the user and walks the user through what their goals are in life and so on, and what the prerequisites, and leads them to the course they can take. That's, again, an open edX partner that's building that hopefully at some point in the future we can expose. Stanford, which is another open edX partner, OLI they've built a number of adaptive learning kind of systems, a hinting framework that we have on edX that they built. Many universities, including Harvard, have tested adaptive learning on edX using an AI bot to guide the learning experience. So we're seeing that more and more and more, and it's just great to see that happening.
You wanted to add something? No.
Yeah. I also think that AI will be a really powerful foundation of what we all do in the future. But at the moment, I think it is the biggest buzzword in online, or buzz phrase in online learning, and is being misused all over the place. I was at Arizona State's GSV conference a few weeks ago. The number of companies, particularly like old publishers, etc., are saying, we have an AI-driven adaptive learning personalized pathway through there. And I'm looking at it, and it's great as a research paper, but again, to bore you, as actually something that engages, delights, and provides success for a learner at scale, it isn't there yet. So I have a 4-strong data team. I would like to have a 40-strong data team, and one day in the future I will, and they will introduce a whole range of new ways. because at the moment we are scratching the surface of what is possible with what we're doing. We all are. But don't necessarily believe the hype of those players out there who say they've cracked it and are doing it now.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of research, there are 3 main conferences which are totally devoted to the application of AI to online or to education in general, not only online, also in the rooms. One is called Learning Analytics, one is called Educational Data Mining, and one is called AI and Ed, started in the 70s. And so there are 3 places, but they are research places. Any last question? Yeah. Yes, over there. Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Mar Pérez from the Pontificia Universidad Católica in Chile. We are partners with Coursera. And related to this research thing we were talking now, I was wondering, one of the main contributions that MOOC have been done also to universities is to better understand how we learn and how we teach, right? So I was wondering if you have any strategy in your organizations on how you can better cooperate with researchers at the universities you have partners with, especially, for example, on having a data standardized click streams, for example, in which you could all agree on that, or, for example, making some, because Simon was saying, okay, what we do is not useful, let us work with you, or let us work for a product that maybe is useful too. So these kind of partnerships, do you have this in mind?
So, quickly, partnership with universities, Karolina?
Well, we have this community of 2,000 teachers that actually are sharing what is working and what is not working.
But with research universities?
Yeah, no, we're doing research with them.
Okay.
So,
Simon?
Yeah, so we have an academic network which pools research and conducts projects together. But what is particularly interesting is some of our partners who are really large scale in learning analytics, so Purdue, who've just joined FutureLearn, for example, what they're really excited about is having a live platform and company like us through which they can experiment. And I think that's slightly difficult still, but we need to enable that if we're to really exploit that fantastic relationship with the universities. I agree.
Anant?
So research and data sharing is a large part of what we're really excited about. And about a year and a half ago, we launched a research data sharing program on edX called RDX, where we anonymize the data. It's not super anonymized, but reasonably. And then it is shared across all our university partners that opt into the program. And it's complete clickstream data and people are doing a lot of research based on that. If you go to any conference today, whether it's Learning with MOOCs or Learning at Scale or other MOOC conferences, you just see a large number of papers, even at this conference, using the data. And we make it very easy for our partners to get access to all of the data directly from the platform at speed.
Rick?
We're making headway. We do data exports to our partners to facilitate research. We've only recently been able to do this in a way where the data are clean enough and high quality enough that you can actually work on clickstream data, but we're getting there, and we very much want to foster a strong research environment among our partners. Okay,
so don't leave the room. We will announce the next EMOOC conference, but before to do that, let me say a great thank you to the 4 panelists who played the game very nicely. Thank you. So I just received an envelope with the name of the next conference, so let me open it here. And, wow, the next EMOOC conference will be organized by a consortium of 3 Dutch universities in Leiden. You can switch a slide. Leiden, Delft, and Erasmus Rotterdam. That will be a joint event organized next year. And Mohamed, are you here? Can you... there are 3 slides, if you can put the slides about the conference. There are 3 slides to present the conference. Oh, maybe just here. But the guy who pushed the button is not here. Yes. Oh. I do it, okay? Okay? Yep.
No, first one? Another one? Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Mohammed Khalil, and I am here to announce the next Emoocs conference, which will be in Delft. So, but it's actually already announced. So yeah. Next slide. So in fact, the conference of Emoocs 2018 will be organized by the alliance of the biggest 3 universities in south of Holland: Leiden University, Erasmus University, and TU Delft. And I am a representative from the Center for Education and Learning. So, of course, we are very happy to welcome you there next year. Next slide. So, it is good also to point out that the next conference of Emoocs will be incorporated with the Open Education Global Conference. So there will be 2 conferences. So we believe that it will be a great opportunity for both conferences. And of course, there will be many participants. So just here, the Open Education Global Conference is about where the world meets to discuss and plan, reflect, collaborate, and innovate, and celebrate the openness in education. So again, the next Emoocs conference will be in Delft on the 23rd of April 2018. And will be organized by the 3 universities, but it will take place in Delft and the TU Delft specifically. Thank you very much, and see you there, hopefully next year. Yeah.
You want to say something?